Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Zero Hour. I am Richard RJ Eskow, and as most Americans know, this week was the 14th anniversary, as of Friday, of the attack on the World Trade Center of 9/11. Surprisingly subdued reaction from the right wing, who, as far as I could tell, did not try to capitalize on that tragedy for personal gain as much as they have done in previous years. And I suppose that is progress of a sort. You know, on a personal note, I am one of the few people I know, certainly in the political world, who did know people who died in the World Trade Center on 9/11. In fact, my wife was scheduled to be there that day. Thank God she wasn't. But that's always made it a very sensitive point for me when someone like Sarah Palin, let's say, would talk about fighting for America and would exploit it for political purposes, when she would also say, as do many conservatives of her ilk, that New York City isn't even part of the real America, that the real America is in small towns. So I was glad to see a little bit more subdued politicization this year, but we still have the Islamophobia industry and the hate industry and the pro-war industry hard at work trying to goad us into military conflict, whether it's by rejecting the deal with Iran, which would allow us to, and will allow us to, restrict its development of nuclear weapons without having to go to war. Its opponents have never explained how war would not be the inevitable alternative of a failure to ratify or failure to conclude that deal. So, but we do have the, not only in Congress but elsewhere, the merchants of hate are hard at work. An assistant professor in the law department of West Point, the United States Military Academy, argued in a paper that legal scholars who criticize the war on terrorism and the way it's being conducted are a quote-unquote treasonous fifth column. He suggested that not only should Islamic holy sites be military targets, but that other quote-unquote lawful targets for the U.S. military include, and I quote, law school facilities, scholars' home offices, and media outlets where they give interviews, close quote, including presumably this one. They are all civilian areas, but there are places where, according to this assistant professor, quote, a causal connection between the content disseminated and Islamic crimes incited, close unquote, exists. Now, he says, and this person's name is William C. Bradford, shocking as extreme as this option might seem, scholars in the law schools that employ them are targetable as long as attacks are proportional, et cetera, et cetera. Now, to its credit, West Point has parted ways with this disagreeable person, but once again, we have a fanatical right wing whose views are being legitimized, who are truly fanatical, truly antithetical to everything we stand for as a country, would target people and kill them purely because of their religion, would target professors, people with dissenting ideas, members of the journalism profession, presumably including everyone who works at this radio station. We must do everything we can to counter these despicable and profoundly un-American views. Now, in a final commentary on our war effort and the ways in which we have destabilized the Middle East, we learned this week that over 13.5 million children are unable to go to school because of the wars now underway in the Arab world. Now, obviously, these wars are caused by many factors, but our destabilization of Iraq is certainly a major factor in the rise of ISIS and in many of the other conflicts taking place there, as well as our destabilization of Libya. Therefore, as was reported in Quartz.com, over 13.5 million children cannot go to schools, and that is due to a new report entitled Education Under Fire, which was released by UNICEF. Nearly 9,000 schools are out of operation because of political instability and intractable armed violence. That is the real threat we must change so that the world can progress and so that these children and their families can get on with their lives. I am Richard RJ Eskow, and this is The Zero Hour.